Commissioners Board together today, and we will go ahead and share the legal notice. If you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Metropolitan Board of Fair Commissioners today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. Before we move on, I would like to introduce Laura Fox, who'll be sitting in for the off-schedule Alex Dickerson, and we're happy to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
So we've called the meeting to order, and we will now seek for the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Madam Chair, I move that the minutes be approved as received.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. So meeting minutes are approved as written. We'll now open the floor to public comment time. We will allocate 2 minutes per person. Does anybody wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to monthly reports, and I'll call on Satrice to give the financial report, please.
Good morning, everyone. The financial information presented today is preliminary, and all revenue and expenses for March 2022 may not have been recorded to the ledgers as of April 18th, 2022, when this report was created. The preliminary actuals through March 2022 are as follows. Revenue is approximately $1,975,445. Expenditures are around $1,794,600, resulting in a net gain of approximately $180,847. Depreciation expense is $881,052, so the total net loss is roughly $700,200. Below you will find an itemized list of our revenues and expenses. Our top 3 revenue sources are Expo building rentals, flea market booth rent, and other. Expo building rentals is roughly $326,468, which represents 17% of our total revenue. Flea market booth rent is around $260,600, which represents 13%. Other, which consists of CDBG grant, rent for mixed use, advertising, sponsorship fees, and interest, is $892,090, which is 45% of our total revenue. Our top 3 expenses are payroll, utilities, and insurance/low cap. Low cap stands for local cost allocation plan. Payroll expense is approximately $838,700, which represents 47% of our total expenses. Utilities expense is $334,288, which is 19%. Insurance, permits, and low cap expense is $309,392, which is 17% of our total expenses. For the month of April 2022, our revenue projection is approximately $147,900. We anticipate collecting 32% from flea market, 27% from parking, 23% from Expo building rentals. On the agent report this month, we have $32,670 in outstanding invoices. This concludes our financial report. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? I do have one. Looking at the aging, I see that we have one sitting at 61 to 90 days. That would be Antique Show.
I will let Laura speak to the Antique Show.
Yes, we have been in contact with them and have sent invoices. So if we don't receive payment, we'll be pursuing other avenues for collection.
Have we had an issue with this with that particular group at the antique show in the past?
No, not at all.
So this is a first-time thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm assuming we won't let it get to 90 days?
Correct.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that the bar exam is just the state waiting to process?
Yes, and we had to redo our, we had to redo some paperwork from us. I think it was was it our W-9 that we had to submit to them? There was an incorrect, we're still listed as the Tennessee State Fair in the system.
Okay.
And so it was issued to them under the Fairgrounds Nashville, so that had to be changed, and there was a little delay in getting the new certificate signed. So, yeah, we expected automatic payment from them, and that was partially a delay on our side, getting them the correct information.
Okay. And then the pro wrestling is 31 to 60.
That one, I do not have information on.
At some point, can you get that to us?
They invoice, yes. We invoice right away on those, so I'll follow up and find out what the delay on that one is.
Okay, cool.
Just,
Mario?
a question with the antique show, is that $8,700, is that the total amount they owe us, or is that a portion of what they've owed us?
My understanding is that it's
That's
a
a portion.
portion.
Portion, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Okay, let's just move on now to the executive director's report. And I'll call on Ms. Lomax. Ms. Lomax.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Just a couple quick announcements. We have several items that are in front of Metro Council for their consideration this cycle. Two were presented last night to Budget and Finance Committee. One was a 4% allocation, which was approximately $380,000 that was approved through Finance. It'll go to Council tonight for consideration. The item in question to be funded is a new switchgear and transformer that's associated with the Speedway. It is obsolete. We cannot get parts for it anymore, so we needed to do some work up there as part of the infrastructure project and the mixed use. And of course, we want reliable power going into our speedway, so it became a critical replacement item, and so that was approved. The second item was our subsidy for our current year. You may recall that at the beginning of this fiscal year, we budgeted zero for revenue, except for things that we were contractually obligated to receive. Of course, the pandemic at the time, which was a year ago today, it was very uncertain of when we were going to kind of reemerge and reopen. So we were advised to take a pretty conservative approach to our revenue budget. Obviously, we've reopened, we're bringing in revenue, so our subsidy request to Metro that was approved last night was about $780,000 for this current fiscal year. We will also be back at council tonight. We've got rules committee tonight, and I'm happy to announce there's one of our vacant board positions. We do have a nominee, Mr. Todd Hartley. He is an attorney, and he's also a neighbor here in this area in Woody Crest, I believe. And then we will have him go through rules committee, and then again, council will consider that at the beginning of their meeting tonight. So lots of stuff happening.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I had a quick question. One, it triggered when you talked about the Speedway. Do we have an update on the governor's $17 million budget amendment proposal for a facelift for the track?
I do not have an update specific to that. You may have read in the paper that part of the governor's tour, I think it was their budget for the tourism division, did appropriate $17 million towards the Speedway improvement. So yeah, I don't have an update on that, and we'll get to Bristol update in a little bit for the rest of it, but yes, that was announced.
Any other questions? Did you have anything else to add? Okay, we're just going to move on then to the events update.
All right, in your packet, you're going to see our event calendar for April, May, and June. As you can see, we did have a partial open weekend. We did not have any events in the expos this weekend, but we did have a national race. We had the Legends, which is always a fun race. We had, I'm not exactly sure what the youngest age of the driver was, but I know we had 9, 10, and 11-year-olds in small Bandolero and in our Legends cars, so it's always fun to watch the kids compete. We have our flea market next weekend. We've got several shows coming up the last week in April. We're lucky to host the Firefighters Benefit Concert twice a year, April and October. That occurs in the Speedway. They really do recruit some good bands for that. And then, as you can see, we do have a full schedule coming up for the next few months, and I know Carla is working really hard to fill our existing slots that we have open and looking to expand some of our entertainment offerings, both inside and out.
Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. And we will just move into the Fairgrounds Improvement Project, Stadium Mixed Use and Infrastructure.
Okay, the mic is live. Well, good morning, board, staff, council. I'll be kicking us off this morning, giving an update from the financial perspective related to the Fairgrounds Improvement Projects. I believe in all of your packets you will have 2 pages that are reflective of the budget dashboards, one in blue if they're in color, and one in green. I'll start with the one in blue as it relates to fairgrounds and expo related items. First and foremost, I always like to kick it off by saying the figures that are presented this morning are about 45 to 60 days in arrear from where actual activity is on site, as well as any services provided. So just from a contextual standpoint, just providing that highlight before we begin. But I will start with the blue sheet. Not a lot of activity there, but appropriately so. We've hovered around 99% complete in the Fairgrounds Expo section, again, with the majority of the remaining costs there associated with FF&E spending. But one thing that I would like to report is as of last month, we have closed out and made all payments to Skanska. Skanska USA Construction. They were the construction team that were responsible for the facility that we're in now and the surrounding facilities on the exterior. One of the things that myself, as well as Roxanne Bethune, Alliance Synergy Group, have been doing is reaching out to Skanska to get all of the closeout paperwork and documents. One of the things that we're aiming for, either by our May board meeting or maybe the next one, will be a diversity participation report that just categorizes all of the dollars spent with small women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses as part of the project. We gave one of those updates a few months ago. That was not a lot will change, but these numbers will be quote-unquote finalized as all payments have now been made. So I look forward to providing that update here soon. But again, not a lot of activity under the Exposition Center. Under the multi-purpose building, we have had 2 payments since the last time that presented to you. While that facility is working to be closed out, we've had a punch walk, and there are a couple items that are remaining on that list. We're nearing the completion, and from a dollar standpoint, not a significant amount of expenditures will remain for that project. So giving that update as well. We did have Laura already give the highlight about the switchgear and some of that equipment that's needed. If you look into one of the rows, there is an allocation of funds there that could potentially go to that as we look at what options may be for replacing that equipment. Dollars are allocated within the budget. If you look there under grandstands and speedway, no movement has taken place in there, but just a dollar set aside for that if needed. If there aren't any questions, I'll move to the Fair Park page.
It's fine.
Okay. Well, again, Fair Park Phase 1 is there somewhat of a holdover, but there's been no activity related to those funds. But again, as those funds are under the purview of this board, present those every month, so just making sure you're aware of those. And then under Fair Park Phase 2, we've yet to begin any formal construction work in terms of actually moving dirt, so to speak. And there have been no invoices related to that, so the construction line item remains unmoved. But as far as design and project management, both of those have hit about 10% of their spend, which is not uncommon for projects. The design and project management are, of course, out in front of the construction. And when construction starts, you'll see a ramp up, and those funds will be expended fairly rapidly for this project. But that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer or address any questions.
Anybody have questions?
All right.
Thank
I'll turn
you
it over to
so
Ron.
much.
Thank you.
Mr. Gobble?
Well, just to supplement what Ed said, the infrastructure project is going well right outside. We've got most of the underground work done on Wedgewood. And then on Benton, the extension of Benton is moving along quite nicely. We kind of shifted all of our efforts up there to get around the stadium to get that work done a little bit sooner so that we can get the area around the stadium a little bit more finished. But overall, the infrastructure project's still on schedule to finish late summer or early fall. So we need some good weather, and that's moving along quite well. As Ed said, the multipurpose building is in that final hard stage it takes to get the project across, and it's having to coordinate with the infrastructure project for water, and we're trying to negotiate a way to get a temporary use and occupancy permit to get that in place. And then essentially everybody's working really well together. Phase 2 of Fair Park, we're trying to work with all the Parks Department, Laura's group, Public Works, or NDOT now, and make sure that all the things are coordinated. So we're in the phase of that. And then everybody works together to make sure every weekend or every event is well coordinated. Again, Laura and her staff do a phenomenal job of working with all the other players and contractors on the campus to lay that out. And Mary Cavall will talk about the MLS and I guess mixed use.
Thank you. Mary?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. I'm pleased to report that the stadium received its final use and occupancy permit at the end of March. Our team's working on installing the exterior banners as well as working through the punch list. We've held some soft opening events and everything's on track for the May 1 opener against Philadelphia Union. Safety also continues to be a priority, and there's no injuries to report since our last meeting. I've also shared our DBE reports with Laura, and she can pass them along to the board members. We expect that our spend will remain at approximately 36%, and that's in comparison to the contractual requirement of 30%. As you can imagine, there's a number of activities underway for the opening match on May 1st, and a key one is parking. We continue to refine our plan really almost on a daily basis. We're working with all the various constituents, as well as NDOT, MNPD, the neighbors and our fans. We've also been sharing current information on our website, and we'll continue to update that as we move forward. With respect to mixed use, Dirk sends his apologies, but I'll provide a brief update. The construction on Block C continues as planned. The site work is substantially complete. They've achieved the subgrade under the building in most areas. They've concluded the rock crushing operation, which is one of the noisiest phases of excavation, in late March. All of the hauling and deliveries to the site will continue to be to and from Craighead, so there will be no impact on the neighborhood. And the foundation work is scheduled to start in early May. And with that, I'll pause to see if there's any questions.
Mario?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Mary. I had a council person and a few community members ask about an update to the tailgate situation for games. There's just a lot of interest in that, and they felt that they haven't heard much from the team.
So the team has been publishing some information with respect to tailgating in the FAQ section of parking, but I'll be happy to share that information back with them, and it's one that maybe we can get out some specific communication to make sure people hear that. We do have some off-site lots that don't permit tailgating, and there is some tailgating that will be permitted on-site here within the campus. But
Great.
I'll be happy to pass
Yeah,
that along.
thank you. You could pass it on to Laura, and then I could pass it on to the council person and folks that are interested. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, we'll be
Thank you.
pleased to do that. All right.
The only thing I'll add is that I think NIAC also needs to make sure that they have a copy of it since they represent the area.
They do. We shared that with them, I think with the draft at the end of March before we released it to get their feedback, and we'll be meeting with them again, I believe, next week. So
It may also be something that Colby Sledge wants to, present in his newsletter that he sends out.
I'll make sure everybody gets the information. It can't help. You always try to communicate, but this is one that over communication will be a really good thing.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just really quick, as we go through our remaining projects, we've got 2 on deck. Ron mentioned Phase 2 of Fair Park, but we also have a second part of our infrastructure project. And I just think it's important to, state publicly, costs are skyrocketing. We are not immune, and these projects are not immune to the increase in supplies and raw materials. So we are working through some, pricing considerations, especially with these upcoming projects. We've been hearing from others that are building currently that prices are at least maybe even over 40% higher than they were a year ago. So those are considerations that we're going to have to work through internally, and then potentially with Metro as a whole as we nail down the pricing on these upcoming projects.
Anything else? Let's move on to Bristol Motor Speedway update, and I'll turn it over to Laura.
There is no specific update. They are again still working through some of the analysis that they're doing downtown. So we've got just a reminder that we've got the financial analysis that is being reviewed at the moment, and then any draft lease agreements or paperwork affiliated with the deal from that side.
Any questions for Laura about this? Okay, we will move on to community impact and Speedway policy discussion and consideration. Does anybody have anything here before I bring something up? Okay, I think that in the past, this has been used as an opportunity for our commissioners to share their thoughts and feelings about what's happening. I think this may be an opportunity for us to retool this part of the meeting and offer NIAC an opportunity to have a representative here at the meetings, and this would be dedicated to specific neighborhood because they're right here and they should be front and center in what we do. So I'm going to ask for a motion to that effect.
I'll motion.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, I'm going to close the floor for discussion and ask for a vote. All
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We'll implement this starting the next meeting. Laura, would you be sure to get in touch with NIAC and let them know? Okay.
I sure will. We've got a meeting coming up, so we'll have that discussion.
Okay, seeing no more old business on the agenda, we'll move to new business. And we need to, for a change, nominate and elect a vice chair. And so I am going to open the floor for nominations of a vice chair that will serve until our next elections, which will be in June. So, opening the floor for self-nominations.
Madam Chair, I will nominate myself for vice chair.
Mr. Hendricks has nominated himself for vice chair.
I will second that nomination. Thank you.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There are none, and so congratulations for the next couple of months. Seeing no more business on the agenda, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and ask everybody to wish our director happy birthday tomorrow. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm trying to move that we adjourn for today.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you for coming.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.